Let me now maybe shift our conversation to geopolitics as a field more broadly.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, let's do it.
You've written about this, and I love that article. It's about all sorts of thoughts in my head and questions. You've provocatively titled it, "Are We Really Prisoners of Geography?" So why don't you lay out sort of your main argument, and we can talk about that for a bit.
Sure. So this was an argument, this was an article, in The Guardian, where my editor noted that there's just a lot of geopolitics books out there. Not just scholarly books, there's always been that, but popular books and like books that are selling really well. In the UK, Tim Marshall, which is 5 books at this point, are sort of constantly on the bestseller list, but Robert Kaplan, Ian Morris, George Friedman, Peter Zeihan, there's just this whole group of people who are writing books that are they all seemingly have sort of similar titles, which is, is the map destiny, or the map is your destiny, right? And the bid behind those books is that, if you really want to understand what politics is about and where it's going, you have to look really hard at the map, and not just the flat map, but the relief map. And you need to, look at the mountains and, look at the rivers. And there's all these kind of sort of intransigent geographical facts that actually explain how power works. And for all the, gauzy talk that we have about rights and new ideas and new technologies, really it's just the world of Genghis Khan is our world too. And we've kind of been in denial about that. So there's been that used to be a way of seeing the world, and in fact it was Adolf Hitler's way of seeing the world, but we really tamped that down in past decades, but it's coming back, and it's a very pessimistic way. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's just it's a sad world if that's true. So what I was asked to do was to kind of assess these books, and I guess 2 things came up for me. One is I found them very frustrating because I found them really ahistorical. They just seem to be about, nothing ever changes, the rivers don't move, etc. And 2 things came up. One is that I felt like that sort of analytical conservatism, right? There's, nothing changes, seemed to be attached to a political conservatism. Nothing should change, the powerful are the powerful, etc. And it turns out that a lot of the people who write that kind of geopolitics book either consult with there was this firm called Strat4, Strategic Forecasting, that did a lot of private security consulting. So a lot of these guys are associated with that, or in fact have been the president of it. And then the other thing that's you could share their politics and therefore share their analysis, and that would be fine. But the other thing that I found interesting, and this one was really frustrating, was I was like, it's weird because the geography isn't unchanging. Right, the landscape is completely human-made, and we have all kinds of ways of altering it. And never more than now have we seen that. We are living in a world where geography is not unchanging, but volatile through global warming. And I felt like this whole maps tell you the whole story kind of line of argumentation really wasn't taking that seriously. So not only did I find it to be conservative in the sense of nothing ever changes, I also found it to be implausible in that sense.
Yeah, and I no, that's right, and I like the fact that you're talking about how geography itself is changing, right? It's not like our geographical boundaries are as set in stone as they maybe were earlier. But I came at this question from a slightly different angle, right? Which links back to some of the conversation we were having about your pointillist empire and there was no need anymore to have such physically large territories to be in your direct control, right? So as I started, my book, the subtitle of it is Shaping Geopolitics, right? How is technology shaping geopolitics? And as I read your article, I was like, right. And then I said, actually, and much like you've also written, how technology takes away the need for the US to be an empire the same way as the UK.
A colonial empire.
My argument was, in my book, as I thought about, is technology really shaping geopolitics? Is it just another layer on top? Or is it completely replacing geography as being at the core of international relations and the world order? The conclusion I drew ultimately was that actually technology has become a massive layer on top. In addition to the geography, it's not that geography is becoming insignificant.
Yeah.
clearly geography is significant. And it's not going away, but it's also not necessarily the most dominant determinant
Yes.
of the actions of states, right? So if you look at the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and people, I think, and that's why these books have also been popular
Yes.
in recent months, is that people are using those moves by Russia to say that, listen, geography, the revenge of geography, as Bob Kaplan has said. And I look back and, at the time when, interestingly, my book came out, released the day Russia invaded Ukraine, right? So the first conversation I had was, listen, I've written about the future of war, etc. So the person who was interviewing me for my book said, listen, like you've said, the future of war is this, the tech, blah, 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 but look at Ukraine.
Yeah.
Look at the tanks, look at the troops.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, wait, just see how this pans out. And if you now look at that Russia-Ukraine crisis, it's clear that tech plays a big role, as we were discussing, the cyber defense, tech firms. There's conversations about Russia being excluded from the SWIFT platform, the banking platform, etc. So as I see, geopolitics is no longer just about geography.
Yeah.
Even if it's the troops on the ground, there's also cyber war. The future of war, ultimately what I can do was hybrid. So to me, geopolitics also, much like the future of war, is going to be hybrid. It's not going to be just about geography, but it's also not just going to be about technology. It's going to ultimately be a hybrid.